Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to 6 things that we learned from England 1, Serbia 0. If you do go on to enjoy today's video, please make sure to drop a like on there for me. If you could try and hit 100 likes on today's video, that'd be massively appreciated. Subscribe if you're new as well. We're on the road to 9,000 subscribers, so please make sure you are subscribed. If you haven't already, with that post notification bell on, it's free to do so, and it does massively help out. Get your thoughts in as well down in the comment section down below on the 6 things that I do go on to discuss in today's video. Now, obviously, this is a series that I brought last season for Bradford City specific games, but I thought I'd bring it back for the Euros and see how well received that it is. We've got new graphics as well, and if it's well received throughout the Euros, we might consider bringing it back for Bradford City's 24-25 campaign. So make sure to drop a like on there for me, subscribe if you are new as well, and let's get into it. So let's start out then with box number 1, and it's a green box for Jude Bellingham, the goal scorer, the match winner, and he was absolutely brilliant, especially in that first half. I feel like it kind of was a tale of two halves for England, and that's kind of been something we've seen a lot under Gareth Southgate, who we will go on to talk about in today's video. But Jude Bellingham, he just gets better and better. The goal is brilliant play from Bukayo Saka on that right hand side, who I thought had a really good, especially in that first half. But the ball in is perfect, and Bellingham, he just floats into the box, kind of not really being marked by anyone, and it's a challenge that if he goes in for, he's probably going to come out getting hurt, or is certain that potential, but he knows what the rewards are and he steams in there. It's a brilliant header to find the back of the net, but it wasn't just that. Every time he got the ball, he had 2 or 3 players around him, and he was keeping the ball very close to himself. Serbia, I thought, were a very dirty side and were just looking to foul England a lot of the time. It was quite early on in the game where Bellingham got forearm smashed right in the face, but he didn't let that sort of thing affect him, and I think obviously he scores a really good goal and he wins England the game, but something as well that I thought was really impressive, when he had that bit of a spat with Kostic, I think it was, and he kind of barged into him, and I've seen some people saying you don't really want to see that, but that's kind of exactly what you want to see. You want to see your team bullying the opposition, because it's been pretty much all my lifetime, we've never really had somebody like that who's wants to, have a little bit of a go back, and I think that's good to see from Bellingham, because Kostic in the end got subbed off in that first half because he were injured, but I think having that mental win already over a Serbian player, it might have weakened his mindset a little bit, and I think Bellingham is just a perfect player at 19, 20 years of age to already be performing at the level that he is for not only Real Madrid but for England as well. He's not one of these players where we're thinking we've got to get him in the right system for Bellingham to get the best out of Bellingham. Bellingham is just Bellingham, and he performs at the highest level. Most times I've seen him play in an England shirt. I thought he was absolutely brilliant yesterday and definitely deserves a green box from me. Moving on then to box number 2, I've gone with a yellow box for Phil Foden. Now, there are no red boxes in today's video because obviously we've come away from the game with a win, but if Bellingham doesn't score that goal, I think Foden probably does get a red box because he was really ineffective, and it's not the first time we've had this conversation about Phil Foden, and I think if he gets dropped for our second group stage match, I don't really think anyone can complain about that. To be fair, he's got about 30-40 England caps now, and how many of them games that he's played has he really stood out and shone, and there's so much debate and question about what is Phil Foden's best position, and I feel like in an England system and the players we've got, it probably is out on the left, but he's really ineffective on that left hand side, and you don't mind him tucking in a little bit and trying to get on the ball more if you've got Luke Shaw overlapping, but you've got Kieran Trippier there who's very conservative and he's much more of a fullback rather than a wing back, and obviously he's playing inverted on the wrong side, so if he's going to put a cross into the box, he probably is going to have to cut back onto that right foot, and then he's coming into the space where Phil Foden wants to go, and it just gets a little bit crowded. But Foden, again, just really ineffective. He's not really got the pace to beat a man when you're playing in them wide areas. You look at Saka, every time he got the ball, especially in that first half, he was beating his man left, right and centre far too easily, really, and that's obviously where our goal comes from, but I couldn't really tell you one thing Foden did in the match, to be honest with you. He's very weak, he tracks back well, which I'll give him credit for, but going forward, again, just largely ineffective, and for someone who's so talented like what Phil Foden is, we need to see more from him and see him producing it on a more consistent basis, because Jude Bellingham, I think, has already had a 10 times the England career that Phil Foden has had, but you look at Phil Foden's performances at Manchester City throughout the whole season and the years that have gone by, Foden's won 4 or 5 Premier Leagues already, and he's only in his early 20s. He's clearly a very talented player, but for England, he just doesn't really display that, and it is quite frustrating, and I think I would like to see him be put put on the bench for the next game, give someone like an Eze a start. I like Gordon, but I'm a big fan of Eberiche Eze, and I like to see him start on the left wing in the next game. Foden, though, very ineffective, and that's why I've gone with the yellow box for him. Moving on then to box number 3, I have gone with the green box for Matt Guehi. I thought he was absolutely brilliant. There was obviously going to be a lot of talk coming into this tournament about who is going to replace Harry Maguire. With him unfortunately being injured, the partnership him and John Stones had formed over the last few years at England had been brilliant. I think we hadn't conceded in open play throughout most of the tournament in the last Euros, and it shows how good that we were. I don't think we conceded many as well from open play in the World Cup in Qatar, and that was largely down to Maguire, Stones, and also Jordan Pickford in goal. So losing Harry Maguire was a big loss for us, not just defensively but going forward as well. You know, he's a big threat from set plays, but I thought Guehi came in and proved why he deserved to be called up for England. You know, there was a lot of conversation about, well, it should be Branthwaite starting, and he didn't even manage to make it on the plane. I'm glad it wasn't Lewis Dunk, because I think he could have struggled against Mitrovic, to be fair, but Guehi I thought was absolutely outstanding. I do actually want to apologise if I am pronouncing his name wrong, but he was unbelievable. You know, defensively it's so solid, a number of last-ditch tackles and blocks, and I think John Stones also had a really good game, but for Guehi to perform at such a high level on what would probably have been a quite nervous game for him, I thought was admirable in all honesty. And I think if Harry Maguire would be, if he was hypothetically on the plane and he was fit and available, say, for the next game, I think he'd stick with Guehi, because I thought he was brilliant, kept a clean sheet as well. And I thought, to be fair, all the defence on the whole was solid, apart from maybe Trippier. I did think he looked a little bit shaky at times at left back, but on the whole, really solid defensively, and definitely has to get a green box from me. I thought he was outstanding. Before we go any further though with today's video, please make sure to drop a like on there for me. We are aiming for 100 likes on today's video. Don't forget as well to subscribe to the channel if you are new, and get your thoughts in down in the comment section down below. Let me know down below who is your man of the match for yesterday's win. Let's move on then to the 4th box of today's video. It's another yellow box, and this time for Harry Kane. Now, again, I thought similar to Phil Foden, quite ineffective. Not as ineffective as Foden was, because he has a really good chance in that second half. I thought Boughan had a really good performance and cameo on off the bench. He does really well to put a great ball into the box towards that back post. Harry Kane holds off his man very well, and it is a decent save from the keeper, who tips it onto the crossbar. But apart from that, Kane wasn't really involved too much. I would say I was happy that he wasn't dropping in deep, but he does seem to have lost a yard of pace. In all honesty, he looks very stiff, and I feel like on the 70th, maybe 75th minute mark, I would have probably subbed Harry Kane off. I thought Southgate's subs were questionable. Obviously, we've won the game, so you can't criticise them too much, but at 1-0, if we would have conceded, you're then looking, well, we don't really look like scoring in all honesty, and you've brought some of our better attacking players off. But Kane, again, I thought largely ineffective, and while obviously he's England's all-time top scorer, we've seen it in previous tournaments. You know, you look back to the last Euros where he didn't score until the knockout rounds, and we relied on Sterling quite a lot in the group stage matches. And Harry Kane, again, I know he didn't really have many chances, and the chance that he did have, it was a really good save from the keeper, but I don't think his link-up play was really there. His hold-up play wasn't awful, and I think he was massive for us in seeing out the game, but you don't really want to be struggling a 1-0 and trying to see it out against Serbia, with all due respect, because you're not going to go far in the tournament if you're struggling against the Serbia. I think I'm right in saying that in every game prior to this one, there had been at least 3 goals in, and England scraped past Serbia 1-0, while in the first half we looked promising, we just didn't really take enough chances. And I think it kind of does come down to Harry Kane, because that game suited balls in behind, and Harry Kane has never ever been that striker really. And I think Watkins would have been a little bit more effective for the last 15-20 minutes, just to help run the channels, maybe even an Ivan Toney as well. And yeah, for me personally, I think Harry Kane was quite poor and sluggish in his play at times. He did well to win a few free kicks towards the end of the game, but that was kind of it. Was unlucky with his header. Overall though, I'm giving Harry Kane a yellow box. Let's move on then to the penultimate box of today's video. It's the final green box, and it is a green one for Declan Rice. I thought he was absolutely brilliant once again out of possession, and I think playing Declan Rice as a 6 is his best position for England. I know for Arsenal he plays more of a number 8 and he gets forward more and, you know, creates more chances, scores more goals, but out of possession he's unbelievable. He covers so much ground and he very rarely gets beaten in an aerial duel, definitely never gets beaten in a ground duel. He's so good at winning that ball back, and I think he's so important to this England side. You look at the partnership he had with Calvin Phillips in the last European Championships. Can he maybe form a partnership like that with Trent Alexander-Arnold? I don't think so. I do think Trent had a pretty poor game, nearly cost us in that first half, and was largely ineffective going forward. A couple nice balls clipped into the channel for Saka, but that was about it in all honesty. Declan Rice though was brilliant out of possession. I thought he looked really good as well when Gallagher and Mainu came on, and we went very solid and just tried to compact that midfield with players who are very good out of possession. And I feel like in the bigger games, Rice is probably partnered with someone like a Gallagher, and then he doesn't have to do as much work and maybe doesn't stand out as much. But when he is kind of that sole ball-winning midfielder, get the ball back and play it to Trent to try and spray a 60-yard diag, I think he's really, really good at that job and deserves a lot of credit for that. I think we had to do a little bit more defending yesterday than what we probably would have liked, but on the whole, I was really impressed with Declan Rice, and for me personally, definitely deserves a green box. So let's move on then to the final box of today's video. It's a yellow box for Gareth Southgate. Now, I just don't really know where to start with Gareth Southgate, because for me personally, he's not the right man for the job, and I've said that for a number of years now. I know he is somebody who causes a lot of debate and divide amongst the England fan base, and talks about how well he's done in previous tournaments and how much better we are now compared to where we were under a Roy Hodgson, for example, back in 2014 in that World Cup where we were absolutely shocking. I think we got knocked out by Iceland. But you look at the quality of that England side compared to the one we've got now, and you also need to look at the quality of other sides compared to where they are now, the likes of Spain, Italy, Germany. They're a shadow of their former selves. While they are still solid teams and obviously will give England a good game, they're nowhere near the teams that they were back in the early 2010s, in all honesty. And I think England, on paper, apart from France, probably have the best squad, complete squad at the European Championships. I know people argue defensively we're very poor, but Southgate, again, we look at the performance, it's far too sluggish, it's far too defensive as well. Against Serbia, it's a chance to play some really nice attacking football, which we did in that first half, but do it consistently for 90 minutes. Try to score 2, 3, 4 goals and give the players a bit of a real confidence booster going into some of the other games, because I think Slovenia really impressed me in their game against Denmark, especially in the second half. Denmark, I thought, were good in the first half, kind of dropped off a bit towards that second half, and I don't think there are going to be any easy games in this tournament. I think the World Cup can be slightly different, but from what I saw of yesterday's performance, again, I just thought it was far too sluggish, and the subs just far too negative, to be honest. I think he's scared to sub off someone like a Harry Kane. I was kind of happy that he brought Bellingham and Saka off and try and protect them and give some other players minutes, but when you've got so many games in such a short period of time, some of the players are going to be used to it, but you don't want to be knackering your players out in the group stage matches, especially in them attacking positions when you're winning a game. Why not try and freshen things up? But why not give Ollie Watkins the last 15 minutes? Why not get Anthony Gordon on that left-hand side for Phil Foden, who has been largely ineffective all game? Why not give Luke Shaw 15-20 minutes to bring off Kieran Trippier, who I do thought had quite a poor game, and also build up Luke Shaw's fitness, because he hasn't played much football recently. I just think at times some of his decision making is a little bit poor. I didn't mind bringing off Bellingham for the last 5 or 10 minutes to bring Mainu on, but at that point, if Serbia had have equalised, then where was our goal going to come from? You're hoping that Jarrod Bowen provides a bit of magic, which he can do. Harry Kane wasn't really in the game too much, to be fair, and the chance that he did have, like I've mentioned earlier, was a good save from the keeper, and Phil Foden had been largely ineffective, so you kind of relying on Jarrod Bowen to come up with another bit of quality if Serbia would have equalised. I know it's all well good talking in if buts and maybes, because we didn't, and we've won the game in the end, but I just think against someone like a France, a Portugal, a Germany that they look really impressive in that first match, then they probably would have scored and they would have taken that chance. And we saw it against Italy. You can't just defend a 1-0 lead forever, because you are eventually might make a mistake from a set play, like what we did against Italy back in 2021. And I just think there are a lot of yellow flags and concerns for me around Gareth Southgate and whether he's the right man to take England forward. Now listen, we're obviously not going to sack him mid-tournament, but I feel like anything less than a final, and he definitely has to go. If we get to the final, then it all depends on how well we do in that. But I am going to leave it there then for today's video. If you have enjoyed, please make sure to drop a like on there for me. If you could try and hit 100 likes, as I said at the start of today's video, that would be massively appreciated. Subscribe if you're new as well. We're on the road to 9,000 subscribers, so please make sure you are subscribed if you haven't already, with that post notification bell on. It's free to do so, and it does massively help out. Get your thoughts in as well down in the comment section down below on the 6 talking points that I did go on to discuss in today's video. Let me know down below as well who was your man of the match from yesterday's game. Thank you all very much for watching. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you very soon for another one. Peace.